It was 2009. Here in Kentucky, we had an ice storm or freezing rain. Um, Earlier that day, work, we emailed some people and said, hey, this is what's coming down. They let us go early in anticipation for something bad that was going to happen, and it did. I got home early that day, laid down salt, did everything I could do to kind of prevent everything from freezing over, but it wasn't worth it. This whole area you see around you right here, when I got up the next morning, all the trees looked like chandeliers. Everything was frozen over. The tree branches were just draped over. The sun was glistening through them. That's why I say they look like chandeliers. Everybody was in a state of panic because we also lost power. Now, there was nothing really to panic about. I mean, we have, or had, a wood burning stove. The only problem is there was no electricity to the home, so what we had was radiant heat. Everybody was worried about the food spoiling in the refrigerator, but we didn't have to worry about that either because I was like, hey, we got a propane grill out back with a burner on the side. And I proceeded to make some pseudo breakfast or whatever. And sometime during that morning, the wife gets a phone call, and it's her mom. And her mom says, hey, we've got a generator, and your dad, if you guys need it, will sell it to you. Do I need to reiterate that? If you guys need it, we'll sell it to you. Now, bear in mind, you have my wife, her two kids, my stepkids, and her youngest sister living with us, and plus myself. There's 5 people at the house with somewhat no heat and absolutely no electricity. So the day progresses. I had questions from my wife, and I'm like, well, she'd already gotten off the phone when she mentioned this to me, that her dad had a generator. And before I was going to make the travel down there to Campbellsville, which is roughly about an hour and a half away from me, I'd meet him halfway to get it. I would want to know what size and, how much the guy is asking for it. I needed something bigger than what would run a coffee maker. Something that would run at least half of the house, per se. And we never got an answer back for a very, very long time. And so midday on day one, without power, finally get an answer back. Now, mind you, I believe the wife had texted or tried to call and never got answers back. So there we were, left in the dark, literally. And once she did finally get an answer back, her father had either given away or sold the generator to someone at their church down in Campbellsville. Yeah, that's what happened. I was a bit perturbed, and I should be. We're talking about family here. Whether I'm married into it or not. Your kids, your grandkids are here. So, later on that day, I get a phone call from my dad. And he says, hey, your uncle, his wife, is headed down through your guys' way from St. Louis. She's going to her sister's down in Georgia. And they have a kerosene heater and a generator. Would you want them? I said, yes. And so a day later, I had a kerosene heater and a generator to get us through it ended up being 11 days with no power and no real heat. So yeah, there you go, people. That's family. It's not this BS that people claim to be family. It's real family. And this is the old homestead. I left this place well, it feels like years ago now. Frank's in there, probably not being taken care of. Nobody's here this weekend, I don't think. Yeah. And on that note, Sarge loves you.